He has
He has not
manifested
hiding
that.
anything.
He has made sure that there is instilling a certain degree of pride, if you will. But I want to ask Shashank Mani, one of the points that Ratan Sharda also made and other commentators have been making is, why shouldn't the Prime Minister do this? Because in many states across the country, including in Uttarakhand where he went today, the temples are controlled by the state government. There is a HRNC department, there's an endowments department, there are boards that control the monies that come into temples. So why shouldn't the Prime Minister, who represents the state, go to institutions which ultimately are controlled by the state? At least the finances of it are controlled by the state. You can't say that about mosques or churches or gurdwaras in this country, but certainly a large number of temples in a large number of states in this country are controlled by the state.
Thank you for having me on the panel. I'd make a broader point. I think the Prime Minister is accelerating something that he's passionate about in this 75th anniversary, because our civilization has always been defined by the footsteps of pilgrims. So when he goes to Badrinath or Kedarnath, he's signaling to the whole country that we have forgotten the enormous heritage that we have in our own country. He's decentralizing culture. He's making sure it goes to the last mile, so that democracy truly benefits from what I think is a great cultural heritage. And for all goodness, we have forgotten that for the longest time. He's rediscovering it. And I think that therefore, the debate whether it is owned by the government or not is somewhat secondary. The main point is that by going to a temple like this, or indeed to Ujjain, he's actually suggesting that we should explore the real India. Otherwise, civilizational forces, cultural forces are what I call are in the great traditions. There are many little traditions, and temples are only one part of it. There's an enormous amount of cultural variety below that, enormous amount of Ayurvedic traditions below that. So I think he's exploring and wanting us to explore the traditions of this country, so that not only can we be seen as a cultural strong nation, but we can also economically benefit the real India. So that's kind of my point of view.
Okay.
I can answer your specific question, but if you want me to dwell on this further.
Okay, so let me go across to Tuhin Sinha as well. Again, I keep coming back to what the opposition's criticism is. One of the criticisms is that in his 8 years as Prime Minister, there was one instance of Prime Minister going to Abu Dhabi for a mosque inauguration. He took the Japanese Prime Minister, the late Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, when he visited Gujarat. Again, he took him to a masjid there for its renovation work, and I think once in Indonesia. Why has the Prime Minister not shown the same enthusiasm? This is the criticism from the opposition for renovation of mosques or churches or gurdwaras as he has shown for temples.
Zakat, this is an era of giving justice, historical justice to people and to places that have been left behind. So whether it is our freedom fighters or whether it is our places of worship, the Congress has done enough for the for the mosques and for the other side. I'm asking you a simple thing. Today, if you look at the sheer, architectural marvel of some of our temples, particularly those in the south, anybody would have been proud of it, but rather we played them down. We never made a conscious effort to have them acknowledged by UNESCO. Why? Because it was fashionable not to talk about temples. If a Prime Minister is proudly doing that, is he dividing the country as the Congress would like you to believe, or is he invoking our civilizational pride, which is what we believe? And you were talking about the consolidation of the Hindu society as a whole. That is all the more important any which way at a time when we are seeing demographic distortion across the world and the world is acknowledging it. So what is the harm in it?
No, but Tuhin, the point is that previous prime ministers also, Mrs. Gandhi was a big Hindu bhakt. I mean, she was surrounded by god men and women. She was compared to Ma Durga. There's recorded a sort of evidence of her as well as Rajiv Gandhi giving great amount of donations to restoration of Hindu temples. Maybe they didn't do it in the public glare. So the criticism is again, one of the commentators who came on the previous show, he said, this doesn't have to be a national event.
No, I don't see a reason why it does not need to be a national event. Like one of your panelists or one of your speakers was mentioning, if it instills some amount of knowledge about Adi Shankaracharya, which somebody in the Northeast may not be aware of, somebody in Orissa may not be aware of, that serves its purpose.
Okay.
We are acknowledging our icons, the real icons who have not been acknowledged so far. So I think the message is for the entire country. I think never before has a country, whether it is the Northeast or the South, been so proud of our inherent culture and heritage. And I think the more he does it, the more the country would,
So
would appreciate
Sanjay,
her.
why is this a problem? I mean, if American presidents can take the oath of office with their left hand on the Bible, and the dollar bills even today say "In God We Trust," why should we be so squirmish about an Indian prime minister displaying his faith on his sleeve? You have to unmute, Sanjay.
Zaka, for the simple reason that the US Supreme Court is not telling the president and his government that you act or it will be a contempt of court if you don't stop hate speech. And we all know that the growth in hate speech has been like 500% since Mr. Narendra Modi became Prime Minister. India has experienced lynching, murders. India is seeing today a call for genocide. You have BJP MPs openly talking about segregating a community. It's blatant, brazen, it's a daylight murder of India's constitutional democracy. And I want to tell one point on your show, Zaka. Mr. Sharda's RSS or Mr. Tuhin Sinha's BJP has got no legitimacy to talk about Hinduism. I'm a Hindu and I'm a very proud Hindu, by the way. And who has appointed the RSS or the BJP to be the custodians of this great, what I call as an eclectic, ecumenical religion? It's a tolerant religion. They're abusing it. All because for them it is nothing but, I call it majoritarian appeasement and majoritarian politics.
Sanjay, I mean, for the Congress party, which was in power for so many years, nobody stopped Congress prime ministers from doing what Mr. Modi is doing. They were free to do the same thing.
Well, Zaka, a simple point here. You know how many BJP leaders have already said it publicly that if they have a chance, and I believe it, that if the BJP were to return in 2024, they will actually remove secularism from the Indian constitution. 2025 is RSS's 100th celebrations. I think the entire Sangh Parivar is getting into the act. We all know what happened during Garbha. We all know how Muslims were flogged publicly. And this is a whole game plan. And Mr. Modi is the spearhead of this.
So again, I think, Sanjay, with due respect, you are bringing in two separate issues. I'll ask Ratan Sharda to comment on this. No one is condoning hate speech. If a BJP MP is calling for social boycott or economic boycott of a community, that is unacceptable. If people are being flogged at Garba, that is unacceptable. But that has nothing to do with what we saw today in Badrinath and Kedarnath. So it's two separate issues, and I don't want to bring, I don't want to confuse one for the other. But Ratan Sharda, please respond to what Sanjay is saying, that ultimately all of this is Project Hindu Rashtra in 2025 or 2024. This is what he said, that India will cease to be a secular republic. Anyway, the BJP and the RSS think that, the custodians of secularism are not secular at all. It's just pseudo-secularism.
First of all, secularism is a word put into constitution in 1976 in absence of any opposition. All of them were in jail. So don't try to pass it off as this was the fundamental features of 1951 constitution. So let us get over that particular self-flagellation by Congress. It is something that happened in 1976 under emergency. It is not basic feature. You might quote Supreme Court, whatever. So don't try to say we are secular because we are Hindus. Any other area of India which is not Hindu majority, where is secularism left there? Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, even Kashmir, for example, and wherever there is a majority of non-Hindus, even within India today, there you can't celebrate festivals. You are under constant threat. You are threatened by people. And this particular aspect of Garba lynching, etc., though not the point of this particular debate, was one of the what are the major flashpoints? Sartan se juda. Did you condemn that? So let us stop that. I am basically trying to come back to the main issue. What is our definition as a geocultural nation? And talking of Hindu Rashtra, I am saying this is a Hindu Rashtra. All we need to acknowledge that our roots, our tradition, our culture, they basically flow for Hindu past of last 10,000 years. All our knowledge, including science, metallurgy, medical, whatever you call it. Why shouldn't we be proud of that? And why should we not repair our temples if we can repair church and mosque? Why not? And do you know, you can research. ASI gets grants from Aga Khan for repairing Mughal places of history, but it is not allowed. It doesn't take contribution for repairing the Hindu places of eminence. Why? I don't know.
So, Ratanji, can I ask one question? Now, I think what the opposition is trying to get at, or what... Just give me 10 seconds. What people like Mr. Ovaisi and all are trying to get at, what Sanjay Jha is trying to get at is, okay, fine. it is a Hindu Rashtra. No one should be, not proud about our civilizational heritage, about our cultural heritage, who we were as a nation. I keep saying India is a civilizational state. It's not just a modern day democracy from 1947. We're a civilizational state. But the one question that all of them seem to ask is, okay, Hindu Rashtra, yes. What then is the place of minorities in a Hindu Rashtra? What is an ideal minority in a Hindu Rashtra?
First of all, Hindu Rashtra is not a state, Hindu state. It is Hindu nation.
Yes.
We differentiate between the nation and the state. Our inclination, our philosophy is Hindu, but our state is secular. Our state is not for any particular religion. If you read any of the text of Indian history, none of the Hindu king ever had a state religion except Ashoka, who is supposed to be secular. No other king had a state religion, and every religion had due place, right from South Kerala to North Kashmir, everywhere. Every king had due respect for every religion. Why did the people from foreign lands end up as in asylum, whether they were Syrian Christians or Muslims or Jews? Why was first mosque outside the Arabian land built in Kerala? Because we by nature are secular. We by nature believe that every religion needs due respect. When Indiraji introduced secularism, she went to L.M. Singhvi to translate that particular term. He said it cannot be nidharmi. It cannot be non-religious. It has to be sarva pantha samabhav. That is due respect for every panth, every sect, every religion. That is the definition that L.M. Singhvi gave. So that is what our nature is.
Okay.
And Supreme Court defined it. So to say that by saying Hindu Rashtra we are going to throw minorities out, that is totally wrong. And we were secular even when Constitution did not have the word.
So, Badrinarayan, where are these fears then coming from? Because I think Ratan Sharda is right when he said that, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, this whole phrase was used by M.J. Akbar in one of his columns, where India is a secular nation not because the Muslims want it or the Christians want it. India is a secular nation because the majority of the Hindus want it to be a secular nation, and that's why it is a secular country. The point then is, if the Prime Minister is openly, unabashedly taking part in these religious ceremonies, and like I said, this whole veneer of political correctness that used to be there in previous generations, we should not have that. I mean, there's no need for being politically correct about it. No Prime Minister should have to be, sort of nibbling around toes, if you will, about his or her religion. But the larger question, Badrinarayan, is what then happens? What then happens in the future? Are we going to change as a nation? These apprehensions that Owaisi and Sanjay Jha, etc., are fanning, where are those apprehensions coming from?
You are very right that the aspirations in the nation is changing. A new aspiration, a new identity. You remember before 2014, around 2010 or 2009, after 2007, there was a kind of caste politics, the aspiration of acquiring identity through caste politics. But now this is acquiring identity through the Hinduness, Hindutva, and that is growing, and that is going to change the entire chemistry of the nation, Indian nation. But one thing is very important, what you said, that majority in India have to be very assimilative, and they are, and that should grow, and they should expand this feature of the Hinduness. And they will do, I think, certainly.
Okay, I'll give Shashank Mani.
Just one thing I would like to tell about the national event. You said that Rajiv Gandhi and Indira Gandhi used to go to the places, but it not become a national event. Because cyberspace, that time the television channels, social media, we are not so powerful. Now, anywhere where Modi ji goes, camera starts following him. So social media start talking about him. So it becomes national event.
Okay. So I'll give Shashank Mani the final word. Again, comparisons are drawn to other countries in the subcontinent, right? A Pakistan, a Bangladesh, even a Sri Lanka for that matter. These are all states where religion is front and center of these states. Pakistan is an Islamic republic, so is Bangladesh. In Sri Lanka, there is similar majoritarianism, if you will. Even Nepal is a Hindu kingdom. Why should India alone be squeamish about the religious aspect of its public life or the religious aspect of its state and governance? the idea of secularism, which was imported from France or UK or the United States, cannot be lock, stock, and barrel applied to a civilizational state like India.
So I would say that civilization and faith are two sides of the same coin, and I think culture stems out of that. And we have to be proud, and the point that the previous panelist was making, that a new aspirational class is coming. They are really looking at the Rashtra, at the country, whether this is one religion or the other. And I think in some ways, what is happening right now is a reassertion of our own identity as a civilizational state in very different forms. And this is the point that the Prime Minister is making. And I think this is the point not just him, but other parts of society are also making. That it's about time, 75 years after independence, we shed this colonial baggage that we've carried. We're very nervous about who we are, where we go, how we behave, what we do. It's about time we reassert ourselves as a nation, which is big, which is soon going to be the largest nation of the world, by the way, not just the largest democracy. And the second point I'd make is we should be not diffident about this. We should project this globally. The world today is looking at another civilization message.
Okay.
China is a copycat state of industrial Europe because it followed Marxism.
Can I make
USA
a point
and
here?
China are in a battle. I think India should step on the stage.
Okay.
We need to say that there is an
I'm completely out of time,
That stems
gentlemen. Completely out of time. So sorry, no last comments. I'll leave it at that. Shashank Mani, thank you very much. I'll thank Tuin Sinha, Sanjay Jha, Ratan Sharda, and of course Professor Badrinarayan for joining us. Happy Deepavali to all of you. We'll leave you with this thought about this cultural rejuvenation, this